Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Innovation Unplugged. And today we are ecstatic to have the almost entire, workforce team from Bevill State Community College. We have Al Moore, who is the Dean of Workforce and Economic Development. We also have Amanda Tice, who is the Director of Workforce, and Chad Bryant, who is the Workforce Specialist. And I'm Brandi Merrill, and I am the Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center. So thanks for joining us today. And you three, we consider special guests and rock stars. So we are thankful that y'all are here today to just kind of tell your story and like who you are and how you got started. And we love hearing about how folks came to be and sit here and how you get to serve and serve people in your community and your college and all that kind of good stuff. So I'll start to my left. So Al, tell us who you are and how you got to be where you are and what you do every day.
Well, my name's Al Moore. I'm the Dean of Workforce and Economic Development at Bevill, and I've been at Bevill State for 13 years. I have a 31-year career. 25 of those years is in public education in the state of Alabama. So I worked K-12, and then from that I also worked at Alabama Public Television in the education division, and then worked also at Jeff State. I taught adult ed, and I worked for federal TRIO programs there, Educational Talent Surge. And I've been at Bevill 13 years, but prior to that, I worked in industry. I worked for Alabama Power Company.
Very cool. So Alabama Public Television in the education division. So this should be old hat then, right? So you're around studios?
Yeah, I was quite a bit. And we were working on it was a $22.5 million grant project.
Oh, goodness.
Through the federal government. And we were working on a longitudinal study to find the effects of web-based professional development on educators, teachers.
That's cool.
So it was a 5-year project, but I worked with APT. They were the lead agency. But in addition to that, 8 additional public broadcasting companies and 8 boards of education, state boards of education along the Eastern Seaboard. So
goodness, that's a cool project.
Yeah, it was a cool project.
That is cool. And to your left, you have Amanda Tice with you. And so Amanda, if you will just kind of walk us through who you are and how you got started and where you came from and what you do, all about you.
So like so many people, I had a circuitous route to get to Bevill State. I have a degree in design and one in marketing.
Wow.
I worked in retail management in several states, and I've done some privately contracted professional writing in just a variety of types of writing. And I started at Bevill State as an adult ed instructor, moved into Ready to Work and taught that early when it first began, and then became a coordinator with Upward Bound. Then the college-wide director of continuing and community education, and then I moved into workforce and worked with Dean Moore.
Wow. That's a long career there and varied. You're right. Like, you've done several things, that I would never even have known about. I knew about your writing background because to our listeners, that's the first time I think you and I had met was working on the manufactured housing project. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's pretty cool. So what other kind of writing did you do other than I know about your manufactured housing, but what other writing?
So resumes, political speeches, general speeches, children's books.
Wow.
And some contracted research writing support.
Neat. Any political speeches of people, you don't have to out it, but any political speeches that we would know, like the people?
Ghostwriters don't talk about that.
Oh, so there is something there. Do you know these secrets? Maybe.
I cannot
I can confirm nor deny.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Oh,
and also dissertation support too. You do that as well for
that's cool.
Lots of people.
Yeah. I served on one dissertation committee, I guess. And boy, you just don't realize what a lengthy and arduous process that is until you're in it. And of course, I was on the other side of it. I was not defending a dissertation or anything. I was just serving as a resource. But golly, that is quite a long process, and it is an earned degree after that.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
A lot of people are academically really gifted in their field and what they do, but
Yeah.
perhaps don't have writing capabilities that showcase that level of expertise. And so sometimes they ask for assistance in making sure that what's put on the page reflects what they do know in the research that they've done.
Ooh, that was so well put. You're absolutely right. Like we see that even with building courses and stuff, that a lot of times people have the thoughts in their head. They just have a hard time getting it out, right? And getting it down on paper.
We all have our strengths.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So, Chad, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got to Bevill State.
So my background is automotive from really the beginning, and so my perspective coming into workforce is I went through a career tech program in high school. Went through what was a technical college back in the 90s, and started in field at that point at dealerships. And then in 07, I was able to start teaching at Bevill, and so I've been in the classroom since 07, and just started with workforce really full time in the last couple of months, and so on paper maybe longer than that. But and as an instructor, I've had the opportunity, besides the normal instructional things one would expect. I have helped write some curriculum. I have helped the automotive program achieve associate degree status at the
Nice.
I've worked with some VR curriculum writing, I guess you'd
Yep.
say, or storyboard writing. So a few different things, but this is new, and I love it. I'm still helping students. I'm still helping individuals
Yep.
be successful. Probably the biggest thing that I've helped with is the Innovation Center training, because that's where the deficiency was. That's why the help was needed.
Well, that's because y'all are killing it up there.
Yeah.
You're doing all kinds of training up at Bevill State with Skills for Success, y'all's Skills for Success courses.
Yeah, and Bevill State has an expansive service area. We have a 4,600 square mile service area.
Good grief.
We often describe it as the size of Delaware and Rhode Island combined.
Wow.
And so we are also in 3 workforce regions: Region 1, Region 3, and Region 4.
Mm-hmm.
We have 37 feeder high schools
Gee.
in our service area. So it's expansive.
Yeah.
With 5 sites, so 4 campuses and 1 instructional site in Pickens County in Carrollton. So,
And there's just 3 of you.
well, our division is
It's very.
pretty expansive as well.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have 4 directors
Okay.
who report to me. Amanda is one of those directors, director of workforce, and then we have a director of mining and mine safety and technical training, and then we have director of adult ed.
Right.
And now we have a director of the Energy Infrastructure Training Center. And
Yeah, that is huge up
Yes.
there for y'all. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
so that is still in development,
Uh-huh.
but it's going to be a huge deal. 4 components included: weatherization, connectivity, which is the fiber component, and then solar, and also electric vehicle. So the electric vehicle will include battery maintenance, battery repair, as well as the charging station
Yeah.
maintenance and installation as well. So we're excited about that. This is new for us, but we've got a key partner in Alabama Power, on the project, and it's going to be big. So Cameron Cox is our director. He's new in that role. Marcus Carson was our director, and Marcus has since become our associate dean of career tech.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Still good for him.
So he's moved into that role, and so now Cameron is in that director role. So we're backfilling his
Yep.
instructional coordinator position
Right.
now, but we do a lot of work in mining. Workforce is really broad at Bevill because of all that we do, which is why we have a pretty expansive
In
department.
any given year, we're training 5 to 8,000 people, sometimes a bit above that. It's a lot.
Yeah, and pre-pandemic, and I can remember even back 9 years ago, we would train 12,000 people in non-credit in a year's time.
Wow.
And so it was it's it's a lot. It's a lot of training that happens. And those are training instances. I mean, those are training, not testing.
Right.
They're training instances.
Yeah. What's the majority? Like, what's the majority of your training footprint inside of your workforce division?
Mining is a
Your largest
huge
one.
portion
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
We have quite a bit that goes through truck driving. We have a decades established
Yeah.
truck driver training program that is credit-based and non-credit. For the purposes of our division, they do a lot of non-credit training for business and industry. And they've begun picking up some skills for success. And then we're doing skills for success CDL Class A training, and we're currently rotating between 3 locations and are going to have to add a 4th to pick up the influx of people that are starting to overwhelm our traditional truck driver training program, and it's pulling a lot of his attention. So we're going to have to add Walker County in as a location to handle some of that. It's been interesting to see how we work between the different directors. Adult education, we become great partners with them in making sure that we provide comprehensive services to the students that come through. They're able to address learning deficiencies, get their test scores up, earn their GED. They're what was ready to work, but they're earning their workforce certifications. And sometimes they can even fund things like the permit testing fee and drug screen and DOT physical required to become a CDL driver.
Absolutely.
That's been fascinating to me, and we're looking forward to as Skills for Success begins looking into more health science, that we're going to be working with Bonnie Barton, who is part-time with us, but she manages our non-credit health science programs.
Nice.
And so we'll be working closely with her to try to launch that initiative.
And to me, that's one benefit of Skills for Success for us, because our service area is so broad,
Huge.
and because we're in rural areas. And some of our areas, you don't have a whole lot of industry, a lot of business in those areas. Now, there's industry in adjacent areas and communities. But what it does is it allows us to do workforce training everywhere, which, in the past, before Skills for Success, we had a lot of, a lot of workforce training going on in different places, but we were limited on certain areas just because of the area itself. If it
Right.
and being able to partner with industry, because that's what we've done, a lot of partnering with industry to create curriculum and to create courses and to deliver them around our service area. We've done a lot of that, but Skills for Success has allowed us an opportunity to have workforce training everywhere, which is a huge benefit to us.
Gosh, with that many locations and that many folks, and then that many, and y'all know this. I mean, we talk about the library, right? And almost 3 years ago, we had a couple little courses on the shelf, and now we're pushing close to 50. And I know the listeners don't know this, but we actually saw each other yesterday, and had a meeting about that, and just kind of how much things have just grown, and how not every. So I love hearing, that, hey, we really know that the more health science courses that are coming down the pipe, we're going to be able to service our community this way, because that allows us to be able to do these things. And that was kind of one of the points of a discussion yesterday, was not every Skills for Success course is made for every college, because not every college, their community doesn't necessarily have that particular need or that. And so I think the more courses we build and the broader reach, then every college can now kind of pull off the shelf for whatever fits your community. So I love hearing that about the health science courses, because we've got nursing support tech coming here in just a second. We've got ambulance operator. We've talked about community health worker earlier and mental health worker. I mean, the health courses are really beginning to blossom for us.
We're trying to think creatively with the courses that you have available. And as you know, we sit at the heart of the manufactured housing industry in Marion County.
Yeah.
And how we can support them further. With the installation course that we're going to be piloting with you, that's one component of it. But within the manufacturing facilities, we really see an opportunity to bring the electrical helper, the plumbing helper, the carpentry helper, flooring installation, and utilize that as a way to cross-train their workforce and prepare people to rapidly onboard with them with some valuable skills that are going to help them in the manufacturing process.
Uh-huh.
And so that just rotate within Marion County so that we're constantly training workforce for that. That's entire industry.
Beautiful. I think we've seen so many, y'all just get so creative with those things. And so I can kind of see, from the outside, kind of looking in how, you're assessing it and saying, but for them, if we took this, this, and this, and we paired it together and we bundled it, then that would give them this type of employee. And I think, again, that's what's so much fun for us is to kind of sit back and, as these courses, especially from the curriculum design side, right? That's what's so much fun is kind of watching all of those individual components of those courses serve, your folks and serve your community and how you bundle that together. And we call them stackables, right? So they're getting stackable credentials. And then, boy, what a sales pitch you get to make. In the nicest way possible sales pitch, but, walking into any company, that's there in your expansive area and being able to be like, hey, look, here's what we have to offer. And we love saying that these are really y'all's courses. I mean, we build them obviously with all this assistance and everything, but we hand them off and it's so much fun to watch y'all go do these things and be creative. And that's cool. That is really, really cool to be able to bundle all of those together. So what do you think? So you said for the manufactured housing manufacturers themselves. So really that is taking every component of that manufactured home and building your customized training course all the way around it, including the installation and the training.
Yes, and we even see land survey helper as being something that could be beneficial.
Ooh,
'Cause
absolutely.
you have to have a place to
Yeah.
put the home. There has to be some place to install it.
Yeah.
And it's critical that the site development and location of the site are correct. It's one of the most significant, if not the most significant factor in failure of a manufactured home is site development.
Yeah.
And we learned that early on when we first started working with the manufactured housing industry. And I believe that was Chuck. He's VP of site development at the time.
Clayton Homes.
Mm-hmm. Who shared that site development is that critical.
That's incredible.
And at that particular time, when we first started working with that industry, the statistic was 70% of the issues with a manufactured house had to do with installation. It had nothing to do with the manufacturing of the home,
Right.
but the installation could create problems, and that was creating a problem for the industry because no one was considering installation being the issue.
Yeah.
All they see is, I just got a bad home, but there's really nothing wrong.
Think about what
with the installation
wrap
process.
around that training is. You got land survey, identifying the site.
Yeah.
You're coming in with heavy equipment. You've
Mhm.
got your skid steer, your dozers, your excavators. You're going to have to run plumbing lines.
Absolutely.
You've got to prep that site, get the pad put in place, a roller.
Yeah.
That could compact the soil so that you don't have shifting issues.
Concrete.
Amazing.
Right in your
Yeah.
CDL. I forgot that one. Y'all, that's incredible. If you ran every single one of those, we would have to
We have a plan.
figure out how to put it in there. She look at every course and look how every course is being used. I mean, seriously, that's incredible.
We think that there should be a certification for, we know that rough haul is an issue where when you can be a CDL driver and you can haul a home, but if you rough haul it, you damage it.
What's a rough haul? Explain to me what that is.
Incorrectly hauling the home.
Okay.
So, bumping into a ditch, going past limbs that are going to tear at the sides,
Got
that
it.
sort of thing, causing
Yeah.
damage to the home.
Right.
It'd be neat if there was a certification that could be offered rapidly to teach people how to properly haul the home,
Yeah.
so that and most people I'm sure do, but I would love to see that certification in place
Yeah.
and readily available.
Yeah.
So that people could, that the home is safe from the time it leaves the lot till the time it's delivered to that site that's been prepped.
Mm-hmm. So just adding one more course to that litany of courses that she's going to put on there. You can get on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love it. But, a lot of times, and that is kind of how things start, right? Is it just having a conversation about something. And then the next thing so for the listeners, really, it was the Manufactured Housing Association, right? That kind of came to y'all initially. And then we partnered together to take that course and kind of modify it so that it could be used statewide through Skills for Success and that kind of thing. But how cool is that? Yeah, to get to work with the state association on something that's that large that impacts that many people.
And the commission was instrumental as well in sharing their knowledge. And I worked really closely with Tommy Colley in developing that curriculum. And he's no longer with us, but he was just the heart of it. He loved what he did and was so kind in working with me on developing that curriculum because he wanted it to be successful.
Absolutely.
And so what we handed you came with his stamp of approval, and that means everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was so widely regarded, nationwide, really.
Yes.
And we were thrilled to have him in Alabama, in that role to assist that development.
When we first went over there to meet with the association, we were in his office and his pictures were there, and so it was a kind of a touching moment, I think, at that moment, to kind of see the legacy he had left behind. But so Art Faulkner and Steve Pinkard and Lance Latham. So those are the main three guys that we had from our side with you guys worked with on that project. And then, of course, we went out and filmed that course with Earl French and his group and his team. And golly, I'm going to tell you, I had no idea how incredible it is to watch a manufactured home come together. And in this instance, when we were on site, they kept saying, if we're going to marry them.
Yeah,
we're going to marry
the
them.
marriage.
And I had seen obviously some of the content and some of the curriculum in your work and that kind of thing, but I really still didn't quite understand. No, we really are. We are taking both sides and we are marrying that sucker together. I mean, it was an incredible thing to watch.
The raised hinged trusses?
I think this was a while ago when we did that, but I'm pretty sure the whole thing was just an incredible experience.
I didn't know that existed till I was working with them on writing their curriculum. Had no idea that existed. And I thought, well, of course it makes so much sense. But it was fascinating to see happen.
It was. That was a cool experience. And, when nothing is there and the next thing you know, there's a house, and it happens that fast.
It's a home at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and, moving, I was hugely impressed with the CDL driver and how and you mentioned that a minute ago about how critical that is to be able to make those turns and do those things in sometimes, in tight set of situations and circumstances. We all drive down the interstate and see
them driving
straight line,
dirt roads with trees and ditches and it cutting like turning into a driveway, and it's
incredible.
It's incredible what you do.
It is. It is. Well, Chad, I want to ask you, because you and I kind of I was listening to your background, obviously. So you and I kind of have a similar background. So I taught in the CTE world too. Mine was in healthcare and did that for, 14, 15 years, and then transitioned into this side, of the community college system and kind of came out of the day-to-day classroom and lab setting to do something a little bit different. And I see in you and I hear in you, not just in this conversation, but in an earlier conversation, just it's different, it's neat, it's exciting, and all things are still kind of new. So tell me this, and let's pretend they're not sitting here. What was the first project and by the way, for the listeners, they really enjoy lunchtime and eating. We had a couple of conversations about what good restaurants there are around these parts. But aside from the food scenario, tell me what the coolest project or the coolest thing that they've thrown at you so far has been.
Um, Amanda's let me schedule some heavy equipment classes, and
Yeah.
so we're just starting the process from beginning to end. Initiating conversations with counselors or career coaches, whoever it may be, and just kind of seeing how that process works from beginning to end. So I don't know that I've totally done one from end to end by myself, but I've wrapped up some that you helped me start, and I've started some new ones for the spring. So
That's good. Yeah.
so
No,
that's
that's super.
about the extent of my experience at this point, I guess.
So riddle me this, Batman. What heavy equipment courses are available through the Skills for Success library? Well, I'll be Jeopardy.
Quiz. You didn't tell me there was but it is that.
You might confirm to friend. I don't know.
Let's see. Skid steer, Mini X, bulldozer,
Yes,
roller,
absolutely.
and then we added something that I seen yesterday. Packer?
There's so the
Motor grader operator.
motor grader, yeah, yeah, and that one's going to be an upskill scenario. Courses, and we talked about some new courses that are coming out. So, of that list of new courses that are coming, is this the motor grader most intriguing to you, or is there something else that was on the list that you were like, "Oh, dang, that's cool"?
Well, the automotive, there was something that was automotive technician something. I thought,
Yeah.
what's that going to be?
Operator
and
tech
it's
automotive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a robot operator. So
Yes.
not down the avenue that I was headed in my mind.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anything that's can upskill or provide some sort of entry point for anybody for any field, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I think that's the
Um,
coolest. It is. It's the coolest part. It's just kind of getting to watch that whole process, taking a student from start to finish, or even really just, somebody who's in the college who doesn't necessarily know what we do or how we do it or whatever. So what have those conversations with those counselors looked like for you? Like being new, to this arena, not necessarily, what you've done for the last, what do you say, 13? No, that 13 years, but you 18 years. So, I mean, that's outside of your regular wheelhouse. So what kind of questions have you had either from students or from other college staff or whoever outside parties that you've had to field, regarding these courses or what y'all are offering or what you can do to serve?
So in the high school arena, Amanda's already prepared most of those folks well. So I don't think I've had a lot of questions there. But
Pave the way, huh?
yes. But people that know me are like, hey, what are you doing now? And so trying to explain workforce, which is, I guess one of the most hidden gems that we have, because a lot of people don't understand workforce
Yep.
as a whole, and I didn't, and I still learn things every day. And so explaining primarily innovation center stuff, because that's what I've been
Yeah.
helpful with, hopefully, the last few months. And so explaining that course list that you were talking
Yeah.
about, that library of items that are available.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's one of the biggest things is just kind of getting familiar, because I'm listening to all of your story and your story and your story. None of us we weren't born into this. We all came from somewhere else and brought those life experiences and those jobs and those careers, and how long those individual, roles would be. But collectively, they brought us to where we are now. And I think that's kind of one of the fun parts, I think, when we bring somebody on that's new is one thing that we've kind of gotten in the habit of doing is having them pitch us. Like, who are we? Tell us who we are. How do we do it? And it becomes a little bit like a competition, because we'll sit around a table and be like, okay, I am standing in the line at Lowe's and I am complaining that I do not like my job and I want to. This is a customer, not somebody who works at Lowe's, because all those people are very happy. This is a customer standing line. They're looking for another way out in life, right? And so if that's who that is, then pitch, Bevill State, or pitch, Skills for Success, or pitch manufactured housing, install. any of those things will give them that scenario. So that may be something y'all could utilize with Chad. We could put you on the spot and ask pitch it today. But it's it's just getting used to this different world of workforce and what's out there and what's available to offer. Because when you tell people what there is, a lot of times they're like, there's no way. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way that's available. There's no way there's no cost to that. There's no way you can do that in this amount of time. And it's fun. It's almost like gift wrapping something and handing somebody to something like, no, yeah, it really can, So I think it's a neat gift for folks, a neat experience. Well, I know working with students, you have to have some thoughts in mind when I lay this question out there. And this question would be, we cross folks every day, right? Who you encounter and you want to help, right? You spoke to the adult ed side of things and really walking somebody through who may not have had the most direct path in life and just need a little help, right? So what if I asked, who is that person, or maybe those couple of people, whether it's recent or maybe in the last 6 months, a year, whenever, it doesn't really matter, that have touched you, knowing that you've either helped guide them or you just watched from a distance, somebody who was able to pick up and go do something that they didn't know they could do, and they did it, and then they went out, they were successful, or it changed their trajectory in life. Now, it could be coming from the classroom. Like I have a ton of those kind of stories. It could really kind of come from anywhere, but from a Bevill lens, almost, like who are those folks that you've come across? Because we love hearing those kind of stories of how impactful we are as a system, and you as a college.
Well, I could think of several.
Both on the same page.
HVAC.
Fast track. I had a feeling we'd both think of that.
Yeah, the HVAC fast track program, I mean, it has been life changing. It's an 11-week
Truly.
intensive
Yeah.
HVAC program, and we started it in 2019 in collaboration with the power company, and we've had about 50 students to complete that program to date. And every time we have one of those cohorts, we have a student at the graduation. We offer a career fair. So we get HVAC industry to come to the graduation. They set up tables, and Amanda teaches resume writing and interviewing skills to the HVAC fast track students. Every one of them, they have interviews at the end of graduation, and we have more than a 90% placement rate.
Wow.
For all of those students.
Yeah.
In field. And so the industry, they clamor to come to that graduation and meet those students. But I recall there's so many stories.
Okay.
One student was homeless.
Yes.
Wow.
Homeless. We had one of our Fab Five, one of our original ones from this area, Michael Grove, incredible student, so smart. And I've repeated his story so many times, worked so hard and was working in a particular industry and just could not start climbing the ladder. He got an entry point and just nobody would give him a shot to move up. And his exact words were, "I know I have more in me if somebody would just give me the chance."
Wow.
And we believed in him, and we did. And he was snapped up by Banks Quarles locally. And they still talk about what an incredible employee he is. But they can't stop talking about how wonderful he is. They said if they could hire more people just like him, they would.
We have
They
students
adore him.
who started in that program. They finished that program. They were technicians. Students who are managers now.
Own their own. There's a CEO
Yeah,
that decided to
own their own
do
companies.
great.
It's been amazing and life changing for many students. And I love it. We have male and female students, in that HVAC fast track program, and some of our shining stars have been some of those female students, and I love
Well, of course.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
it.
going to say this for Taylor Dozier, for women everywhere.
Yes,
Of
it's-
course.
And I love it to see all those guys gravitate because they have the answers and they know how to do it. But I mean, they've been stars in that HVAC fast track program.
Yeah, I remember we kept asking everyone how they were doing. And I said, well, we're doing well, but not as well as Victoria.
No, but listen, she's got the answers. But yeah, leader of the class. But it's been really, really good. We had one former state superintendent
Really?
who went through the fast track program at Bevill.
Wow.
Fast track
And then went on to stay in the industry and go to work or own a business.
Yeah, working with a friend of his in business, but yeah, as a former state superintendent. So
That's impressive.
pretty amazing.
That's
And
impressive.
they join it for
Assistant superintendent, assistant state
all
superintendent.
kinds of reasons, from starting a new career to we had someone in the recent class that had always worked in the industry managing the business for her family.
Yeah.
But she said that as she looked to fully taking over with the business, she wanted to know how to do the technical side. She said, if I'm going to manage it, I should do it all. A retired educator with a doctorate who wanted to learn HVAC so that he could help people in retirement.
See, that right there is what I love. When the chancellor uses this phrase, I absolutely love it. That's why we're the community's college, is because it doesn't really matter who you are, what role you are in life, or how old you are, or where you came from, or whatever you are. Like all of those stages, ages, and ranges, right, of folks find a niche somewhere inside of any one of the colleges, and specifically today, Bevill State.
And there's so many opportunities for funding now. Of course, with Skills for Success, through the legislative, action and the funding that's available. We've got, is it Paths for Success with we've got funding there. We've got
Grant,
we owe a
Women's
fund.
Fund of Alabama.
Yeah,
They've been
we've got
very
some additional corporate scholarship dollars available. There's just so much more opportunity. I mean, as I sit here and think about it, I can remember when industry and education did not work well together.
Right.
And now, I mean, we're almost, I think I can say, fully immersed.
Absolutely.
We don't update curriculum on the credit side, non-credit side, anywhere without industry at the table. I mean, and it's a different time. It's a different time, but I think it's a great time. I think it's our greatest.
I do too. We've talked about this a little bit before in some other podcasts and such, just, how different, I don't know, you look at 15, 20 years ago, and what education looked like then versus now. It's almost like I don't know, I guess with anything you see ebbs and flow, right? Over time. And it seems as though we've got a flow, because ebb seems like coming back away. But, this seems like a flow back towards, really kind of trades and skills and industry driven types of things, as opposed to, I don't know, a little bit more like generic kind of education almost. It's almost like pointed and relevant, right? So maybe this is the age of relevant education.
Oh, I like that.
Huh. Bingo.
The age of relevant education.
I like that. I'm going to write that one. I have to write that one down. Well, Chad, tell me, so you've had a minute to be thinking about the answer to this question. So who is and again, like I came out of the classroom, so I get it. And so you may, you may already have somebody in mind, but who is, what's an example of a student that you have seen whose life or whose career was impacted by what your college or what your training, who is that person?
So we all have a handful of students or more that we would love to talk about, and I have I'm going to generically talk about a few, and then I'll pick one. And so I have several graduates who are police now. I have several that are on their own business. I am very proud that both of our automotive instructors at Bevill are graduates of the Hamilton program. So that's to me that's a positive for. Was one from Fayette County, had lost his dad and kind of lived on a farm a little bit, and he didn't really know what he wanted to do, and so his mom said, if you don't know anything else, go take automotive so maybe you can keep the tractor going, so zero clue what he wanted to do. I'm gonna put a plug in for Skills USA right here. And so because of Skills USA, I was able to get him interested in motorcycle. And so through the competitions and through the preparation and through the leadership portions of that, he participated in Skills for the 2 years he was in the program, placed first in the state both years, and placed, I'm trying to remember, maybe top 10, top 15 nationally the second year he went. And he works at Tuscaloosa Harley-Davidson. And so that's one of the guys that I've seen that really, really coming through the program made a change. And he's in field and he's successful and he's doing well.
Yeah. Gosh, that's incredible. I love those stories. Yeah, I've got a few, kind of like that. I think we all kind of have a heart of service, obviously, or we wouldn't do what we do. But I think my favorite role, almost in the classroom or even as a mentor. I mean, I taught ultrasound, and so again, got to know that group. We would have cohorts. They're fairly small, 15, but I'd have them for 18 months, so I'd get to know them fairly well, and it was pretty much one-on-one, sometimes two-on-one. And I think honestly, it's really getting to watch that transformation of somebody, somebody who comes in and like you said, we had folks who would be retired lieutenant colonels we were in Montgomery at Trentham, and we had a retired lieutenant colonel from Maxwell Air Force Base. I mean, we would have it all the way to a brand new high school grad, or maybe someone who dropped out of high school, then decided to get a GED, then came through the program, so the smorgasbord or buffet of individuals that would come through was broad and varied. But I think the coolest part was really kind of watching somebody take something that they might not have even known a whole lot about, got a little bit of encouragement, and then just dug in and muscled all the way through to the end. And it was life-changing, because, and I'm sure with automotive and really anything else that, any of our colleges do, literally went from being sometimes, 19, 20 years old to the next thing you know, you're making $35, $40 an hour, 18, 20 months later. I mean, that's just unheard of, to think that something can happen that fast in that, kind of associate side, the CTE side. But then you look at our online, you were talking about your fast track HVAC, and then with Skills for Success. I mean, that very same trajectory is available as quick as you want it, which is a really cool thing. I think we've seen some, I want to touch on y'all's high school perspective in just a second. We've had some high school students in here just discussing, them taking those heavy equipment courses and that kind of thing, and then going out and finding jobs or jobs waiting on them when they finish that, that lab that last day, and how cool that is for them to go, from really having no trajectory really other than here, this is an idea of something I have, to the next thing they're making, $30 an hour running a piece of equipment after, a 20-hour class and 2 days in a lab. I mean, that's insane.
The age
Yep.
of relevant education.
There you go. My favorite, man. I'm telling you, golly, it's just incredible. It's incredible. So you said you have 37, did you say 37 high schools?
37 feeder high schools.
Y'all, how do you keep up with that many contacts of high schools and offerings and that kind of thing? How do you even do that?
You beg the president to hire someone to help.
That's what your stage left is Chad.
Yeah. It was extraordinarily difficult when I was doing a lot of this in field on my own. And he will remember there were weeks that I would have to stay away from home. Thankfully, I had people in different areas and I could stay with them. But there were 3 months in a row where I was on the road. Territory. I would stay with friends in Hamilton, and then I could far more easily reach Winston County, Fayette County, Marion County schools without such a huge drive.
Yeah.
But that's what last winter looked like for me. And now I have Chad. And he's in Marion County. I'm in Jefferson County. And between the two of us, we can fan out and
Yeah.
cover everything.
Yeah.
And we very often have multiple classes going in different cities at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's important that we can be there for them and be available if there are any needs. That's difficult
Yeah. Oh, I
with
bet.
that many schools. And
Absolutely.
it's not just schools, the municipalities, the businesses. We're serving a lot beyond open enrollment. Those are all people calling, asking for classes.
Thank you so much today for our guests. Again, we had Al Moore, Amanda Tice, and Chad Bryant from Bevill State Community College. And we cannot thank y'all enough for coming in and gracing us with your stories and your experience and just letting us know all about the communities you serve and how you do it and how you're growing. And we are grateful to be along with this ride with you in support of you.
Well,
So-
thank you. Thank you for having us. Certainly a pleasure. And we look forward to a whole lot more.
Agreed.
A whole lot more to come.
All right, be sure and like, subscribe, and follow on all podcast platforms. Thank you.